See,
Can you
you are the
sound
only
broken?
one that cannot hear me. I don't know. Please, who can confirm that they can hear me? I need thumbs up.
I
I
can
don't
hear
know.
you, Sama.
We can hear you.
Okay, okay, good. Okay, thank you very much. So, sorry, excuse me. Sorry, excuse me. Okay, sorry. That was Mr. Toshiku. He couldn't hear
All
me,
right,
so
all right. It seems there is a glitch here. According to Sam, I'm the only one not hearing him, that every other person can hear him. If that is the case, that means I'll have to log out from the meeting and join again.
okay, that's good.
So, Sam, you can take the floor. Go ahead.
Okay, okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Toshiku. Okay, so welcome once again to our lightning talk. And today we'll be talking about I'll say not particularly interesting topic actually, because it's something that as as while we're coming up as a developer, it's something that is mostly ignored. In fact, we really don't look that way. So I'll share my screen so that, and please confirm you can see my screen. Okay, please confirm you can see my screen. Okay,
Yeah,
good.
very well. I can
Thank
see
you
your
very much.
screen.
Thank you very much. So where do I begin? Okay, thank you very much. So, today we'll be talking about integrating legacy SOAP service into enterprise system with Spring Boot. Now, I underline the enterprise there so that um, the topic is not actually misinterpreted, because we are not going to be taking an enterprise system and then integrating. No, that, I mean, um that would be too much, and I don't think we'll have time for that. So, but we'll be doing the basic and bare minimum, and we'll be doing like we'll be integrating um, soap in three different ways, and yeah, we'll be in three different ways, and the just have to go with the best one that suits us. So yeah, we'll be doing that coding, and also now the reason why the enterprise is there is in that particular topic is because soap we've worked with several let's say ecosystem like edutech, um, agri-tech and different, and you rarely see soap web service come up. You rarely see web, but when it comes to financial institution enterprise that's heavily relies on enterprise system that are the enterprise system itself, you would in fact at the core of it you see soap service. You cannot escape it. As far as Nigeria is concerned, my this particular topic I'll be taking notes from my experience. So so most of the things I'll be talking will be the vocabularies and would be around my experience as a financial service provider. So yeah, you get to see those vocabulary, and at the core of everything, at the core of enterprise financial institution in Nigeria, you will see, so you cannot escape SOAP web service. You can, if you are doing probably CBA, that is core banking application, you might have not worked on core banking application, but when it comes to the core of where your transaction is going to and where it's coming out from, you cannot escape SOAP web service. So that's why the enterprise is there. That's why it's highlighted there. So moving on to the next. What do I have next? Okay, good. So, yes, it's legacy yet, but still thrives in Nigeria financial industry. In fact, as a matter of fact, I think I'll be referring to that later. But now, in interviews, several of the interviews I've done with financial institutions, SOAP web service always comes up in terms of technical questions. You get SOAP web service. In fact, there was one particular interview I prepared to my best, but when they ask me soup, when they ask me about soup web service, I couldn't actually answer because what I've been practicing is more of rest. I've not done anything on soup. Even though I have the knowledge theoretically, I couldn't answer effectively. In fact, I answered all the questions effectively, but when it comes to soup, I have the theory, but I don't have the practical, so I couldn't flow in that particular interview. So if you focus around if you want to go into finance and you want to get to a particular height in financial industry, you cannot escape so yeah, dominant in the financial space in Nigeria. So okay. So what is soap? Because I've been mentioning soap, and it's easy to mistake it for your normal bathroom soap or your detergent soap. Again, so what is soap? Soap is simple object access protocol. Simple object access protocol. I will rush up on the theory part so that we'll get into the technical part aspect. So yeah, simple object access protocol. How do I put it now? So if we've done anything on our networking, there are these 7 layers. I think the ISO layers of is the ISO? I forgot it. 7 layers of internet where we have application layer, data layer, network layer, and all this stuff. SOAP actually falls in between the application layer. I think application layer is the there's presentation layer, there's network. Okay, application layer is close to the presentation layer, I guess. That is very close to the presentation layer. Then below the application layer, there you have your transport layer, where you have your HTTP, your HTTPS, your FTP, and other stuff. So one of the advantage SOAP actually has over REST is that you can transport soap via FTP, SMTP, and others, but rest is tied tied to HTTP or HTTPS. You get so you can use soap for literally it's platform agnostic. Yeah, so that's the English. So it's highly structured and standardized, and that's why I think that's the core thing. That's why the core of banks of transactions or switch interbank transactions actually um, focus on using SOAP. As a matter of fact, there was a kind of new implementation that banks had to adapt and financial institutions had to adapt to a secular something called ISO two 200 and is it 222 I think, yes, and the implementations are ongoing on SOAP. It's not on REST. The implementation, in fact, the that particular standard is well suited for SOAP, not for REST web service, as we are all comfortable with. So moving on. Okay, yeah, it's I know it's in one of my slides. So financial institutions still runs on SOAP, like I've said, the core of transaction. There is an ISO 55 and 55 so 222 that relies heavily on XML. You get heavily in fact some let's say some new fintechs really don't want to use SOAP, but it gets to a point where for them to actually work properly with other microservices and the transaction chain, they have to um, adjust their spec. Not even they don't really need to do anything about their spec, but they need to build a middleware to adapt what they are sending as REST to SOAP to now send that particular request to whichever service is going to meet in the chain of transaction. You get so there's bank switch. In fact, every switch, I'd say let's say 90% of switch uses SOAP. And as a matter of fact, I think there's a circular, that a directive that CBN gave, that every POS should route their transaction through is it NIPS, I think, and NIPS is only using SOAP, so we cannot escape SOAP. I'm just emphasizing how, as long as the financial institution in Nigeria is concerned, you really cannot. You can choose to ignore it if you want to build e-commerce and other stuff. But when it comes to finance, you cannot run from so. So and also adoption is slower in the regulated sector, that is the bank sector, because it is heavily regulated, in the sense that when you are building your commercial app, when you are building a commercial app, you really don't have strict regulation. You just have to follow PRD, and sometimes you can change your PRD. Your PRD can evolve. But when you're working in the bank sector, uh, financial institutions, probably switch or payment aggregator, you get you have to follow spec, like to the core, to the letter. That means what this the let's say what this switch is expecting should be what you are giving it. You cannot bend it for any reason. If you bend it, people will lose people will lose their money. You get. So that's why so it is rest is it is slow in adoption. It gets, people are not willing to even really bend or change. That's why this legacy system still exists. So moving on. So there are some key terminologies to. I know I'm talking fast. If there's a question, please just write it down, or you can. I would say you should um, ask now, so that I don't forget myself. So um, key terminologies, so that you'll be able to relate soap to rest, because it's not very far different. It's just the fact that it is heavy and very strict. It gets, and the principle, but the core principle of both of them are almost alike. So to be able to map your idea of rest onto SOAP, that's why I have this out here. So there is something called XSD, which is XML schema definition. There's something called WSDL, which is web service definition language, and there is a contract. There is a contract. Now, in your REST, you have your DTO, which is data transfer object. You have your JSON, which is JSON, JavaScript, JavaScript object notation, and then you have the endpoint. Now, the reason why I put this side by side is sorry. The reason why I put them side by side is because the combination of both of those two sides works very similar. Your XSD to your WSDL. Your XSD is like the blueprint for your WSDL, which is the contract, like your DTU. Like when you for a disciplined developers, especially Java developers, the for me, I love using DTUs, because it makes whoever is calling it on the front end, or makes my work very predictable, unlike just using map and just sending random things. I really don't like that, actually. So I like, in fact, the core of programming, one of the principles is predictability. Because that's why I use DTU very often in anything I do. When I'm sending REST, I always love to define what I'm sending and define what I'll be getting back. So that DTO. The concept of DTO is also like a contract, like what the person should, what you signed with front end to be sent to, or what you signed to be sent it to them. It's just the strictness, the level. You see, this one is using contract to show you how strict it is. Why the rest is just calling it DTO again. So, and then in the contract also, it doesn't just contains the schema. It also contains um let's say the front end is calling it, where it should be going to, like what service, like your endpoint. You have the path, and in your controller you can slash, let's say slash get customer, you get it will go to that particular method in that controller service. For your contract, you have something called target. Is it target namespace? Yes, you get that to that will it's part of the it's inside the contract. Unlike REST, you add the parts in the endpoint, but um, um for SOAP, you add the parts in the schema. It's inside of the schema. So your endpoints just look like, if you have worked with GraphQL, GraphQL just have one endpoint, and then you hit it, whatever it is you want to do, you just hit it via that endpoint. It has only post. So likewise with SOAP web service, just one endpoint. But whatever it is you want to get, you have to specify the service and the namespace. There are two things that's very important. The namespace and the I think the namespace, yeah, the namespace and the name of that particular service, the name of the particular method in that service that you want to that you want to get the logic or an information from. So then there's something called marshalling on and unmarshalling. Marshalling and unmarshalling is similar to, okay, yeah, straight, sorry, the previous point. The payload is XML, is in XML format, while the payload for REST is in JSON format. So there's something called marshalling and unmarshalling. It's similar to what we have in REST, serialization and deserialization. Again, and what is serialization? Serialization is the when you're moving your Java, when you are moving your Java object, because what you'll be sending over to the front end guys or the client is JSON. You are not going to be sending the actual Java object. So it's serialized for it to transform from Java object to JSON. It serializes into JSON. You get it serializes to JSON, and if you are coming back with JSON, it deserializes to Java object. Now, same with XML. For it to move to the client side, for it to move from Java object to XML, to that contract form, to that XML format, to that XML payload, it's called marshalling. It's called marshalling. While for it to move for that particular XML format, payload format, to Java object, it's called unmarshalling. And for serialization, the tool used is Jackson, while for marshalling, it's called JaxB. JaxB. So I'll move very fast because we need to get into the technical aspects just to implement it shortly. So some important annotations. It's good for you to be able to easily remember it. Recall these annotations is if you can relate it with the rest. That's why I try as much as possible to put their similarities to rest in in this presentation. So, like for endpoints now, endpoints you put it on your class, and it's just similar to your REST controller in REST API. That is this thing dancing. Okay, so it's similar to your REST controller in REST API in REST web service. And there's something also called payload route that contains namespace and the local path. So this is like the endpoint. This namespace and local path, they are very important in your contact. Without this namespace and local, in fact, when you are sending your request, it should just be going into air. You will not get any response. You will not be eating anything. So namespace defines, like it's like a package, but it's not a package, because package is like in one place, but namespace, once you carry that name and you put it somewhere else, it becomes the owner of that land. But package is just on one side. Just namespace is similar to what you have on C# or C++ if you have written those languages. So it's just like declaring this space, I own it, it belongs to this service. So payload, you put that on a method, you put that on the method that you want to hit with that particular response. You get, with that particular request body, sorry, with that particular request. And the local part now is now the local part is now the name of the, just like rest your rest API where you have slash get customer. Your local part now will now be the get customer method. You get. So the request payload, just like your request body. The request payload is just like a request body that you pass as params. Your response payload now, just like your response body response body you put at at your method declaration in REST service. You put in your method declaration. You have response body, then you have your, is it your triangular bracket, you get, and you put your this, but it's not the same format, but it's it's the same principle. So you have your soap action. This one is very optional. I think it's not used. Soap action, instead of using, it's just like it's an alternative to this payload route here. But the payload route is actually the best option. Then you have your namespace. In namespace, I've explained the namespace over and over again. It's what tells it's what tells the respondent that this particular place is owned. Let's say you are building something for for customers, for customer service. This particular service belongs to this customer. It's this name owns this space. You get. And then for the request body, like your details, you use this XML root element. You put this on top of the class, on top of that request or response class, like your DTU. When you are doing your customer DTU, this particular annotation or XML root element, you put it at the top of the class, and then to specify for fields, you now put this XML if it's required or not. If it's required or not, you specify those things, like we have also in REST controller. So moving on. Now, what we'll be working on is this particular lightning talks. We will focus heavily on. In fact, we will focus only on contract first approach. There is a contract first approach, and there is the contract last approach. Contract first approach means you get the contract before the code. You get the contract before the code, and the code here I'm talking about is your request body, because those are the things that's looking at: the request body and the response body, the request schema and the response schema. So the contract now is your WSDL, which is the web service. Okay, somebody hands up. Is somebody hands up? Okay, okay. So So you have the contract first is, you have your WSDL first, which is the web service definition language. I think then you have that first, and you use that to either generate the code, you use that to generate the request, but the Java equivalent of that particular contract. Yeah, that's what contract first is, and this particular approach is the best. Actually, it's the best. In fact, I think for most of the services I've seen, that's the only thing I've seen that they use, because um, for in fact, if I'm to narrow it down to how we work as a human being, before you go into an agreement with somebody or you start working for somebody, you must sign a contract. Especially for those of us working, I'm sure there's a contract we sign before we start working for them, because if there's no contract, they might choose to pay you, they might choose not to pay you. You get. So that, bringing that to this particular concept, uh, um, in um, this financial sector, predictability is very key. So you sign your contract for predictability, so that you know what you are sending out and you know what you are getting. That's why contract first is the best approach. So design contract before implementation ensures consistency and interoperability, can generate code from the contract. So we'll be looking at three ways to work with this contract first. And then we have the contract last approach, which is you start coding and then you generate your WSDL later. Then it's harder to integrate with other systems, because they don't know the contract they are signing. You get, and it also leads to schema mismatch. You get, so it also leads to schema mismatch. So the first thing we are going to be implementing. The first thing we are going to be implementing is contract first. We'll be using plain WSDL, which is the web service definition. Like I will be writing. I mean, I'll be doing copy and paste mostly because there's no time. So you have the WSDL manually, and then the second we'll be looking at is generating your WSDL from your .xsd file. That is your schema, your XML schema definition. And then lastly, we'll be generating we'll generate the Java equivalent, the Java equivalent, class equivalent for the contract. That is the WSDL contract. We using a plugin called Jax B2. So this, I think, this is the easiest way to go, because instead of writing all the request body yourself and all the stuff, it just generates just like you are auto generating your DTO class. You are auto generating your DTO class. So this one, you just write the contract, and with this plugin, you just plug in and this command, you'll be able to generate you'll be able to generate the Java equivalent of that, because the contract needs to map to a Java class, which is like your DTO, the Java class, the request body or the response body. So let's start with this plain WXDL. So it will be very fast. It will be very fast. The code is on ground already. So let me just set up my screen. Let me check something. Okay. So if you look here now, we uncap the WSDL, define tabs, message operations. Then you have control over your WSDL. You are doing it manually, and then the key dependencies you'll be looking at is Spring Web Service. You'll be looking at WSDL for J, at least the WSDL contract, and then you'll be using Jax D for binding which is what explained. It's like JSON that binds your XML to the to the actual Java code. You get, so the Java object. Sorry. So let's generate. Let's start. Let me share my IntelliJ screen. Before that, let me. Okay. Let me share my IntelliJ screen. Okay, please confirm you can see my IntelliJ screen. Is it coming up?
Not yet from my end.
Can you see my IntelliJ screen?
Not yet from my end.
You can give me a thumbs up if you can. Can you hear me?
Your voice is coming out clear. Hello, Sam, are you there? Probably a network issue, but I could hear your voice then. Sorry for the breakout. He's having a network issue and will be connecting very soon. All right, welcome back, Mr. Sam. Hello, Sam. Can you hear me? Seems he's still battling with the network. Please let's bear with him a little bit while he reconnects.
Okay, sorry, apologies. My network went off for a moment there. Apologies. So
All
can
right,
you hear me?
welcome back.
Okay, good, good, good. Thank you very much. Okay, let me share my screen.
Yeah, while we are waiting on Sam, I will be
Okay,
dropping our social handles on the message on the
okay.
chat group, so you can
So
check
can you
in
see
there.
my intelligence?
Yeah, very well.
Okay, good, good, good. Uh, Let me close this. Am I sure? Okay. Uh, okay. First, so I'll be very fast with this. Okay, can you see the new project I just created? Hello.
Yeah, you mean an initializer project?
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. See. Sorry. I think I need to share the new project. Okay. Okay. Good. Can you see it now?
Yeah, it's coming
Okay.
out.
Good. Okay. Good. So we already have the code base, so I'll be fast with this. Uh, so I've listed the dependencies we need. Listed the dependencies we need already. So let me just drag and drop it here. Okay. 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 So what else? think we have this already. Okay. So I've included the needed dependencies. We have the WSDL for G that reads, and we have the this is JAX-B that binds the XML Jakarta XML binder, and we're really done with this one. So those are the three things we need, and the Spring Web Service, the web service. So the first thing we want to do here now, since it's contract first, we want to define our WSDL. And what you have to do, you just create a new directory in your resource folder. You can call it WSDL, and then you create your. Let me just copy and paste this file that I already have here. Okay, so if you can see now in the contract, there are um there are several there are several definitions. There's this is the let me start with yes, let me start with this. You can see it's the same with this is the this is what tells this is a constant, and this must have. Again, this is what defines the schema, like tells the WSJ what schema to use. So this is constant, this particular variable here is constant. And this your this TNL stands for the namespace. So this is the namespace that you'll be seeing throughout, even in your code base. So this is what tells the whatever request you are sending, come to this namespace, or this particular contract belongs to this namespace. You get. And you can see it's the same thing here. It's called target namespace. So these are very important definitions that you need to have in this particular WSDL. And if you see this WSDL, it's very like for just one endpoint, it's very complex and convoluted. That's why they have alternative using XSD. You get. So and then here you come, you can see the definition for the first this is like get request customer. You just what you are going to be passing is just the ID. You pass the ID, and then you get the response. And then the response contains these elements. All these elements, you can see their values, in string and other stuff. So it will be giving us the ID of that particular customer, the name of that particular, and the email. So and it went on and have some more definitions. These are the things that will be contained in your WXSD. So the other parts of the code now, you need your get you need the get response Java object equivalent, and you also need the get customer request Java equivalent. So let me just paste that, get that from here, and get customer. This. So if you check the get customer request and get customer response, like I said, it's similar to the detail you use in your REST API. You get. So I've explained this XML route. You put it at the top of the get requests, like for class level, and then this to specify what is required or not, or other forms of other properties on the particular field in that particular on the particular field in that particular that particular let's say request body or response body. So we have similar thing, and you can see we have the name. This is where it will be going. We have the name, and then we have the namespace. This is like the class level, the name of the service where it should be going to, and this is like narrowing down to the method that it should be calling. So we also have the customer get customer response, and it's similar to what I just described earlier. So the next thing we need, which is supposed to even be the first, is the config. You need to configure the WSD to read the content from somewhere and map it to this particular Java object. Again, so let me get that from Need your web config. Okay, good. So in the web config, we have um, we have these properties, and this is very important. This particular variable here is very important because this is how you be reaching your WSDL. You can access your WSDL, the contract. You can access the contract with your port and this particular endpoint, this prefix here, it's suffix here, and then also this particular one here is very important because this will be the name of the contract that will be generated from this particular contract that we already have in our resource file. So it will get this and then create a contact for it. And for us to access that contact, we'll use this particular, what we use is, let me just write it here. Use your local IP with your ports, and then the part will be WS, and then it will be this name, customer dot WSDL. Get. So this is how you get the the contract signed. So this is very important for let's say when you want to reach to another financial institution and you want to understand the contract that they have in terms of their response or their request body. You first of all, what you query is this particular WSDL. You query the contract, then get the body before you are able to build their specification. You get. But although they will give you their documentation, but you can still confirm from the customer WSDL to know what you are doing right or wrong. So having done this, what we need is I think, yes, we need the endpoint now, the actual controller service. So let me get that. The endpoint class. Okay, good. So this is the endpoint class and namespace everywhere. So the namespace we are dealing with here is customer. Namespace, what you are dealing with here is customer. If you have more endpoints, you have namespace. If you have more endpoints, you have a namespace for them. You get. So the namespace here we are dealing with here is customer, and then we put it on the method level, and then specify where it should be going, this particular which is this particular method here should be coming here should be coming here based on this that you have defined. You get. We've already written a contract for this. So whenever a request is coming, it will be looking for these two things. It will be looking for a namespace. Once it gets the namespace, what it be looking for next is the get customer request. Where is it? What method is it sitting on? And then where it gets it, it will now enter into this place with the contract, and then do the mapping, and then give you your response. So once I run this code, I think we should be fine. Okay, good. We are fine. So the tool you'll be using to test, and the easy tool, you can use Postman, but the easy tool to test for this, you use SOAP UI. If you've not used SOAP UI before, use SOAP UI. So this is not fresh. So let me just create a new one so that you see how we got to that point. Let me create new SOAP. So project name would be contract first three, and then your initial WSDL. For this particular one now, you have to go into your code, and that contract that you created, that WSDL contract that you create, you have to locate it. I think it should be this one. Should be here in project. Then the contract should be in our source, main, resource. You have the WSDL. So the contract should be here. So once you click, it will create to create the envelope, the request body for you. You have to open here and then you see. So it will create the request body for you. So once you send uh let's say one, the one based on the controller now, if you check the logic for the controller, so I think I will be able to go to the other parts of this. Oh, sorry. Can you see my SOAP UI? Hello.
Yeah, your screen is, yeah, we can see, yeah.
No, no. Can you see my SOAP UI? I'm displaying a SOAP UI. Can you see that?
Still on the IntelliJ.
No, 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 no. Maybe displaying this. Sorry. Let me come back here. Oh, oh. Sorry. Let me come back. Let me stop sharing. Uh, stop sharing. Let me share this. Okay, good. Can you see my SOAP UI now?
Yeah, yeah, very well.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, good. So and it means you didn't see how I generate. Okay, let me generate it again. Let me close this and generate it again. So let me create a new file. So projects, call it contract first four. Then you have to locate the WSDL contract that you created initially. Go to look it's on my desktop, main project, so test contract first. Yeah, should be in source main. Then you see the WSDL. So this is the contract you created. Then it will generate the SOAP response for you. So that's how we got to this. It will generate the SOAP response. See, we didn't write it. You just go to the contract and fetch it out and then generate it for us. So based on the logic for the WSDL, if I send one, it will give me a particular user. But if I send something else, sorry. Okay, so I think my time is almost up. Let me just try this one. Okay, good. So we get a response. We got a response. But if I send something else to give me, because based on the logic, if I send something that's not one, it will just give
You're
me
welcome.
user not available. So that's we have
Okay.
other code base, but I'll be
Okay.
sharing those code base
Yeah.
because we don't have time. So if there is a question, please you can ask. I apologize for taking time. I thought it would be very fast. I apologize. If there is any question, please you can ask. It took a lot of time. Any question? Thank you. Okay, Mr. Bright.
Hi, thank you, Mr. Samuel.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah, it's very, very in a powerful session. Yeah. So please, my question is, for me, I've not really worked with, soap, so I don't have much idea how it works. So now let us say, I have an endpoint that returns like a normal DTO, like the normal REST endpoint that we have. But now you need to, let us say I need to interact with an, will I say, a different endpoint that it returns like
Sorry, can anyone
that
hear
can help you
Mr.
to map your DTO.
No, I stopped hearing him.
Okay.
Can
Sorry,
you hear me?
continue.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes,
Hello,
yes,
can you
yes.
hear me?
Continue. Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah, so
Continue.
I'm asking like now, we have DTO, we have the SML format, right? So is there
Yes,
like
yes.
an existing interface, between both of them that can help you to convert from DTO to your SML, from SML to a DTO? Is there like an existing interface?
Okay, good. This is a very important question because it came up. In fact, it came up. It's not a question. It's something we experience in my workplace because this particular institution they are using REST. So when we give them our specification is on SOAP, and they will have to based on the implementation, they will have to adapt to what we like. They will have to adapt to what our own specification, not their specification. They can build their system if they can use any language. It's not only Java. They can use any language. They can use REST. But when it's coming into our system, they will have to adapt their response because what we just need from them is what they are sending to us, and they will have to adapt whatever it is they built to what we want. So if we want to see it in XML format, that's what they will be sending to us. So what's the solution to that now for institutions that uses REST? What they now do is they create a middleware. They create a middleware from their own side that will intercept that because they don't want to change their core system. So they will create a middleware that will intercept that request. Again, so it's I don't think there's a tool, there's a easy tool for that. So they create a middleware that will intercept that request and then convert. That's where string manipulations now come in now, and now convert the values from the JSON and attach it to a proper SOAP, to our own specification that uses SOAP, using all our the namespace, the target namespace, and the different the service, the name of the service, and all this stuff. Then they will now send it. So the solutions I've seen that institution uses is that they create a middleware that intercepts their own request and then process it towards those other services that uses SOAP. So I don't know if that answers the question. So there's no, I'm not sure there's a tool that just simply just converts converts and the reason for that is because of predictability. If there's a tool, I think it might involve, it might bring some form of unpredictability, which especially in finance. In fact, in finance, their code is line by line. It's like very, you can understand it because they cannot do this smart coding and skip one thing because any mistake will lead to loss of transactions and no bank want that. So that's why they have to build the middleware themselves and not rely on any tool. I don't know if there's a tool, but that's the solutions I've seen so far.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Nice. Yeah.
So any other question? Okay, Mr. Tishuku, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for this wonderful presentation. And I would just like to know if this SOUP system is basically for interbank communication. Like, is it basically for interbank transaction or normal day-to-day use by customers that uses this very SOUP endpoint instead of the REST format? You understand? That's basically my question.
Okay, okay, good. Based on my understanding now, though I don't fully understand the system, but based on my understanding now, when it comes to transaction from one point to another, there are lots of services that comes into play, especially when we are talking from interbank, like you say, from one bank to another. So there are lots of services that comes into play. You get so there's the CBA and there are middle. Then you get to the switching platform that the core is actually SOAP. You get to the switching platform that most of them are SOAP. I think needs use SOAP, RedTech use SOAP, and there are lots of platforms like that. I think Hydrogen uses SOAP also. There are lots of InterSwitch also. No, I don't think it's InterSwitch uses SOAP heavily, sha. I don't think so. There are lots of those. Then it gets to that. So every transaction you are making as a customer from your own side to get to another place, it is going through this. It is going through all these chains. So it will move from rails to SOAP and all this stuff. And within a short period of time, that's why you won't even know it's going through. You won't know it's the transaction is going through this long chain. You get so. I would say each to each their own. You get so, but I say it's most of the time it will eventually go through SOAP at one point. Like your transaction that you are making, that's your simple transaction with sending money from one person to another. It's going through a SOAP response, and the reason why SOAP can function effectively there is because the endpoint there is not like your CBA. CBA can have up to hundreds of endpoints. But when it comes to those middle part of the finance, they just have few endpoints, and mostly TSQFT and any the name requires. You get in the middle, so they reduce. So you don't have lots of SOAP endpoints. You just have basically three. You get. So that's how the transactions mainly go from my own understanding.
All right, thank you very much.
So I apologize for taking our time. I'll drop the other code base. I thought there will be time to actually go through them, but there's no time. So thank you very much. So Mr. Tochiku, I hand over to you, sir.
All right, Mr. Sam, thank you very much for this wonderful presentation and all the expositions on SOAP system. Honestly, I really learned a lot, and I hope so to others. I guess everyone here might have at least gotten a point on the SOAP system and how it works and the importance. And I guess we can continue our research from there with the material that I believe Sam will be dropping for us on the platform. Um, I would like to leave the floor open for everyone. If anyone have something, a contribution, it might not be a question this time, a comment or something to say in regards to what we are doing or in regards to this very topic that's being discussed today. So if anyone have something, the floor is open. We will just give a few minutes to that, then we call it a day. Um, Anyone? All right, all right. So in the absence of no um, comments, contribution to anything, stuff like that, at this point, we are going to call it a day. First of all, I will say a very big thank you for everyone present and a very big thank you to our wonderful presenter, Mr. Samuel Gwenga. Thank you very much for this wonderful presentation. Thank you everyone present. Your presence really matters a lot to us. Looking forward to see you next week. We continue from here. This is NAIJA-JUG. This is what we do every week, Tuesdays, especially by this time. So see you again next week on Lightning Talks. Do have a wonderful night rest. Thank you very much. Thanks for joining us.